Hello and welcome to the Messages and Methods Livecast Life 2.0 livestream podcast hosted by Encore entrepreneurs, Shelley Carney and Toby Eunice. We inspire excitement for content creation and marketing your brand and business while answering all your technology and digital marketing questions. Join us as we interview experts who share their knowledge and experience to provide actionable tips to land more clients, nurture leads, and position yourself as an expert in your industry. Chat with Shelley and Toby every Wednesday on YouTube or Facebook.
And Shelley?
All right. Hello and welcome to Messages and Methods. Today we have a very special guest. This is James Hipkin, and he's here to talk with us today about digital marketing and his specific hub and spoke digital marketing strategy as well. And welcome, James.
Thank you very much, Shelley. Shelley, I'm very happy to be here. Toby as well.
Thanks for joining us today. We were really looking forward to this conversation because we felt like what you do and what you teach is actually up very much in the alley way of our Encore entrepreneurs, the people who watch and listen to our program. So let's get started with a little background rather than us reading your bio. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, at what point you made the transition into being an Encore entrepreneur, and perhaps even at what point you decided to follow up on your hub and spoke model.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to do that. I have a long career in marketing and advertising. This is our fourth country and third continent in the last 30 years. I've had the good fortune to be able to work with high-level brands all over the world. This has given me a really good perspective on what works and what doesn't work, and with real hands-on, big budget experience with a whole lot of brands that you'd recognize, folks like British Airways, First Class Cabin, Sprint, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Visa, Apple. Worked on the team that launched the Wells Fargo online bank. I have a lot of practical experience. My last digital assignment was managing the digital budget for Toyota in Northern California. And that led me to 10 years ago, I bought a vendor, which was allegedly my semi-retirement. My wife likes to say that what part of working from 8 in the morning till 6 at night is semi-retired, but I have spent my whole career helping my clients be successful. And this seems like another good opportunity to do that. We build large custom websites as a production studio. So we're the construction general contractor working with design agencies on large corporate websites, often with 6-figure budgets. Which is a kind of a roundabout way of saying we actually know what we're doing. We've been working with the same handful of design agencies for 6, 7, 8 years now. So they keep coming back to us with more work. So that's a testament as well, I'm proud to say, to my team more than me, but here we are. And then a few years ago, I identified an opportunity, a need in the marketplace, smaller businesses that couldn't necessarily afford to work with us. When I hear the stories of the things that they've been through with regards to websites and digital marketing and the disasters they've experienced, the snake oil salesmen they've run into, they've been sold stuff they don't need, they've been sold the wrong things, they've paid too much for things. I started using our expertise and developer downtime to build a subscription product for small businesses. We call it Innately. We compete with the Squarespace and Wix of the world. I prefer to think of them, though, as more of my farm team, in that over 60% of our current subscribers have come to us from either Wix or Squarespace. what they discovered was the fashion model and the TV ad lied to them. It's really not that easy. So they come to us because we're a full service proposition. We answer the phone. We don't hand them the keys to a Ferrari and wish them luck on the freeway. We actually do it for them. I have a team of content specialists, mostly stay-at-home moms that we've trained to build websites. They're all across the country, and they're doing a great job for our customers, and the customers love the fact that they can actually work with a real human that actually knows what they're doing. So it's a good win-win situation, and that's why I'm here today, is to talk about that. The hub and spoke strategy is an idea that I came up with many years ago. And basically what it means is that when you think of digital marketing as disparate pieces, they're all very nice and shiny and could be very effective. But when you start thinking of them as part of a whole, that connection brings the power. So the hub of the hub and spoke strategy is the website. The spokes are the various media strategy that you pursue, whether it's email marketing or SEO or paid advertising online or even traditional advertising. It all needs to rotate back into the hub, which is the website. And then the rim is the content and messaging strategy that you've developed that holds all of the pieces together. And that's a very strategic view of digital marketing. And back pre-pandemic, when I was doing public speaking and I was speaking to a room full of small business owners, I'd stand there literally with a hub in one hand and a handful of spokes in the other hand. And I'd say, they're nice. They've got value. But when they really have value is when they become a wheel, and I'll pick up a whole bicycle wheel. And that's the story, and light bulbs would go on when I'm talking about that. Oh, the power of the connection. And so that's the hub and spoke strategy in a few sentences. It's a pretty simple idea, but it's a profoundly powerful idea because it really maximizes the return on the investment that's made on each of the pieces when the pieces are connected.
Before Shelley goes on to your first question, I meant to make sure I had your website up when you were talking so I could refer to the website, and I closed the window accidentally. I remember it has an IN8.
Yeah, INN8LY.com,
That's
innately.
right. I had
And our little tagline is websites
INN.
without worry. So we've got a couple of puns going on in there. It's we picked INN because, like an inn, we take care of you. And websites without worry, of course, is www.
Right. So let me share that with the folks, and you can tell us a little bit about it. There we are.
There it is.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your website and what people can expect to find when they get there.
Well, it's basically the information that they need to know in order to follow through and have us work with them to give them the website that they need to help them create a hub for their digital marketing strategy. So if they're a 6-figure business trying to get to 7 figures and they need a professionally designed, built, hosted, and maintained website that they don't have to worry about, this is a good proposition. We make the entry points quite reasonably priced. Although I will say we are planning a fairly significant price increase in January. So if anyone is interested in exploring this, I would suggest they reach out to me. They can book a few minutes to talk to me by going to vipchatwithjames.com. And then they can schedule some time and we can talk about what they need. But this is the sales site for Innately. It's also where we have our service proposition. As you can see in the menu items next to pricing, it says need support. And that's our real reason for being and our differentiator is we have a proper full support infrastructure that's there to help our customers be successful with their website without having to actually worry about the website.
Now, as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, the website that you build for your clients uh, either is integrated, takes advantage of, or associated with a hub and spoke model. Is that correct?
Well, any website can work with the hub and spoke model. The hub and spoke model is a concept that if you have a website, you need to stop thinking about it as a digital brochure and start thinking about it as the hub within your digital marketing strategy. Um, we're speaking about the hub and spoke strategy in this context. Hopefully people will make the connection that, oh, I guess I need to upgrade my website, in which case they'll reach out to us. We'll be happy to do that. But the idea is powerful regardless of who you're doing your website with. It's starting to think about, how does the website fit in to the value proposition that you're creating for your customers and for your business, rather than just being an expensive digital brochure.
And for those that are viewing this either now or later, I have posted James's website in the chat room, and you can also see it in the messages and methods comment below. It's https://inn inn8ly.com. And also, if you want to have a conversation with James, I've posted that in the chat as well. And you can get to James, you can leave or schedule with James at vipchatwithjames.com. All right.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll play a little devil's advocate here. I know there are successful entrepreneurs who build a business without having a website. So, why is that a bad idea for Encore entrepreneurs to go that route?
That's a great question. And I hear this frequently, particularly from professional services businesses. The opportunity that they're missing is they'll say to me, well, I don't get any leads from the website. But the opportunity they're missing is the null set. They can't see the null set. In most cases, with professional services, their primary source of new business is word of mouth. So executive A tells executive B all about this lawyer that they're working with, and executive B, let me check out their website to see if they're got the capabilities that I'm looking for. They're the kind of organization that I want to spend time with and money with. So they'll go to the website and it will look like it was built in the 1990s, or there was no website at all. And guess what? They won't call. That's the null set. That's all the folks that you're missing because you don't have a digital presence. The other thing that people have to recognize today is, particularly with the pandemic, the shift to online has been tremendous. If you last summer, when GDP numbers were coming out and sales GDP was down 20%, which was shocking. But if you looked inside the numbers, online sales were up over 20%. GDP would have been down a lot further if it hadn't been for that. And guess what? That genie's not going back in the bottle.
Yeah.
You know, a whole generation of people have discovered the power of online. They were forced to by the pandemic, and they're not going away. And so for any business, the online presence is very, very important. Now, how you use the online presence, what tactics you pursue, etc. This is where the hub and spoke strategy helps a lot, because you start to have a plan. One of the other things I counsel folks on frequently is, don't try to boil the damned ocean. You know, pick a few things and do them really well. Use the website as your hub, the place where people can go and you can send messages out from. Create value that goes beyond the transactional benefits of your product or service, and you'll end up with much more loyal customers, and therefore much more valuable customers. So the website, in my humble opinion, is an integral part. The other thing that I'll hear frequently is, well, I have a Facebook page. Okay. And that's awesome. But you're on rented space. Facebook can and does change how they do things on a regular basis.
Mhm.
They don't consult with you on whether this is going to be good for you or not. Facebook can be a very effective spoke in the hub and spoke strategy,
Mhm.
but to have it as your primary digital face is a very risky proposition. Whereas the website is something you own. That's real estate that you own. You own your domain, you own your content. And whether you're leasing space on our server or leasing space on Wix or Squarespace or, wherever it might be, you still own your content and you still own your domain. And that's an important business asset that should be, it's a place where you can maximize value.
Right. Yeah, we've always looked for I'm going to say on a scale of 1 to 10, we're 7 or 8s when it comes to technical capability. So we do a lot of our own things just because that's been my background, and we're very fortunate to have that in my background. But we don't know a lot of folks and clients who struggle with exactly that, assuming that if they have a Facebook page, they have all they need to be able to establish their hub, if you will. So I'm going to
Mhm.
steal that from you and start using it to describe it. But it's not enough, especially because it's Facebook, as you suggested, owns the real estate, and they can not only make changes whenever they want, but they can throw advertising out there that may or may not have anything to do with your group or your page. And that's because it's free to you, right? There's
Right.
what's that old line?
If you're not paying for a product, you are the product.
You are the product, yeah,
Right.
and that's how Facebook sees you. So,
Well, the other thing is that Facebook and all of the social media platforms, Clubhouse would be the exception currently, but even just because you have 1,000 followers to your page does not mean that 1,000 followers is seeing your content.
right, Yeah.
5 to 10% of those followers are being served your content. Facebook wants you to pay for that.
Mhm.
And okay. So it's an important spoke, and it's something that should be considered. But the hub should be the website, because that's the piece of real estate, online real estate, that you can own.
Mhm. So I keep trying to give this back to Shelley, but you say something that intrigues me. So you mentioned Clubhouse, which fits into that social audio category. We played around with it a little bit, couldn't figure out how to generate traction with it. We wanted to use it as a basis for generating leads, things like that. But now Spotify, who wants to be the major social audio player in the game, has announced their version. They call it Green Room. And who's the other one that announced big social audio? Was that Amazon?
They
Do you
have
remember?
one, but they're serving more towards the
The
celebs.
product. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on this trend towards social audio? How does it fit into your hub and spoke strategy? As long as we're on the topic, we'll get away from it after this question. But
Potentially, it could be another spoke.
Mhm.
And I'm also poking around in Clubhouse. I poke around in all of the social media strategies just because I want to be familiar with them. Um, but I think the question that business owners need to ask is, who's your audience
Mhm.
and where is your audience?
Right.
Because my opinion over Clubhouse or Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or any of these channels is irrelevant. It's, what does your audience use?
Mhm.
I see this, businesses will come to us and they've got their website and they get all hot and bothered about getting their Instagram feed connected to the website. Well, yes, we know how to do that. But then I look at them and ask them the question, your audience is all over 40.
Mhm.
Generally, they're not on Instagram
Mhm.
or TikTok. Why are you putting all this energy into this?
Shelley and I have this particular conversation regularly because I tend to be let's do this and let's do Instagram and let's do TikTok. And she says, Encore entrepreneurs. Are they going to be there? No,
Yeah.
they're not going to be on TikTok. So
No, they're not.
this is a regular conversation. Okay. I've dominated this enough. Back to you, Shelley.
All right. Tell us maybe 2 or 3 of the top things that you would encourage people to have on their website.
That's a great question. You may have seen reports in the press, studies have been done that show that goldfish has an attention span of about 9 seconds. Well, the reality is the average website visitor has a shorter attention span than that. So you have about 6 seconds, and to grab their attention and draw them into what you're trying to present to them, and then create a value and have them stay. If you can't do that within 6 seconds or less, they're gone. So that the key thing with websites and with website pages, less is more, and be very focused on what your audience is looking for. So first and foremost, make sure that your web pages are loading quickly, because part of that 6 seconds is the time it takes for the page to load. And that's a piece that people often overlook. It's also important to the Google search algorithms that page load speed is a ranking factor. But more practically, if you only have 6 seconds and you're taking 3 of them to load the page, that's a problem. Next thing you need to do is make sure it's absolutely crystal clear that they're in the right place. This should take a millisecond for people to recognize the color scheme is the same as I was expecting. The logo is there. The fonts are the same. It doesn't jar me visually. I haven't gone to the wrong place. People are very nervous online, and if they have that feeling, they're gone. The next thing you need to do is give them a benefit-oriented reason to stay. And by that, I mean, don't talk about yourself. Talk about their problem. Present that problem to them. Agitate that problem. And then speak to how you solve the problem. And then give those folks an absolutely crystal clear indication of what they should do next. A clear, single-minded call to action. Then there's a couple of other things you can do once you're past that point. Trust. I talk when I'm talking about marketing funnels, it's traffic, trust, value. Some of the ways to build trust are social proof, testimonials, brands you've worked with, quotes from people about your product or service. Those sorts of things are very good, reasons to believe. Your features and attributes, the things that your product does really, really well, reasons to believe. So build trust by sharing this information. And you do those things, you're likely to get people to stay on your pet web page, take the next step, go down the path that they need to follow. So that's the other piece of all of this, is understanding that your customers have a journey, and you want to make it easy for them once they've gotten to the website. The website isn't about creating a brand. The website is about providing the information they need to follow their journey to the destination that creates mutual benefit. Benefit to them, they've solved their problem. Benefit to you, you've sold a product or service. Does that make sense?
It does.
It makes great sense, and I just love hearing that. And towards the end of the show, we always promote the idea that we would love to have other guests on the program. And if you're interested in being one of our guests, we introduce them to the page that they can go to, where they can quickly understand, why they would want to be our guest and what to do about it. So I'll show you it at the end. I'd like your opinion. Maybe after the show, you can tell us what you think about it. So I'd love to have your opinion on the matter. So what mistakes do you see people making? I mean, you were very clear about what you need. What mistakes do you see people making in building their websites? The most common mistakes, and the ones perhaps maybe not the most common, but the ones that are most detrimental to their goals and objectives.
Talking about themselves. I see this over and over again. Headlines that are generic, pablum, and self-centered. There's no meat there. There's no reason why a visitor should take another step. One of the questions we often ask with folks is, what's the primary objective of the website? And then we'll get a litany of answers. And then we'll talk about the movie Highlander and how there can only be one. And we'll get them to narrow in on the primary objective. Most business to business websites, their objective tends to fall into one of two buckets. Either conversion, which is the one most commonly thought of. I need to generate leads. But there's another one, and we touched on it earlier, particularly with professional services folks, and I call it confirmation. And that's as legitimate an objective as conversion is. If that is, in fact, the journey that your customers are on, they need confirmation. They need to understand or have a relationship with you, have some trust with you before they take the next step. Then that confirmation objective is really important. None of this is about talking about yourself. And this is always about talking about how you're solving your best customers' problems. That's a very common mistake. The other very common mistake is putting too much information onto the homepage. The purpose of the homepage is to draw people in and have them take the next step. If you can get them to take the next step, your chances of turning them into a customer have increased by an order of magnitude. But if they don't take that next step, if they hit the homepage and bounce, they're gone. They're not coming back. And you want to make sure that they come back. And then the third thing that I suggested, and this is an old idea, there's been books written about this, and this ties in tightly with don't put too much information on the homepage and that structure I was describing before. Don't make them think. Make it very natural and intuitive and easy to suss out what they need to do. One of the common mistakes I see is, 6, 7, 8 things in the primary navigation. Way too much thinking. 3 to 4. Ideally 3, 4 is okay. But if you have more than 4 things in your primary navigation, you're losing people. Because you're forcing them to try to look at all this information. I wonder where I should go next. You should understand what their journey is and then make that path very clear to them so that they can take it. You can get them to take that first click into your website. And then as they go deeper in the website you have a bigger opportunity to provide more content. The content will be more focused on where they are in their journey. And therefore they're more willing to absorb larger quantities of content. But when I see all this content on a homepage, it's a common mistake, and it makes a big difference if you start thinking about it in terms of the customer journey.
So I do want to point out, as I was going through James's website, I did notice that one of the pages that he shows, and he pretty much sticks to the rules that he just stated for you. I'm going to open this up again, James, just so I can talk about it a little bit. James has a blog on his website, and you can see he's used his 4 items rule up there. But one of them is a blog. And when I went to the blog, I found it very informative, very easy to get through. James has a lot of information on there. And if you go to page 4 of the blog, you'll see that he describes using the hub and spoke marketing process. So if you want to learn more about what James thinks when it comes to these various strategies, you can find it in the blog. And I've read probably 6 or 7 of the articles. I don't know why I'm looking over there. I've read probably 6 or 7 of the articles, and I find them all very informative. And James is very good at sharing his knowledge and very open with it. So thank you for that, James. Like I said, I found it very informative. So.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm glad you got value from it.
I did. I absolutely did. Shelley, back to you.
All right. So you mentioned traffic is number 1 before traffic, trust, and so on. So let's talk about that traffic. How are we getting traffic to visit our website?
traffic. Again, it comes back to understanding your best customers. And I'll answer your question in just a little bit, but let's talk about best customers first. It's an important distinction. I'm not just saying customers, I'm saying best customers. And by extension, best prospects. Best customers are the customers, and every company has them, the 20% of customers that generate 80% of sales. They're going to be heavy category users. They have a strong need for your product or service. Their perspective on the marketplace, their perspective on the products and services you offer is going to be distinct as compared to the majority of customers who might occasionally have a need and occasionally purchase. That distinction is very important. If you create content and distribute content that's focused on those best customers, you're much more likely to drive high quality traffic into the top of your funnel or back to your website. And that high quality traffic is more likely to value your proposition and will ultimately become much better customers for you. If your ratio of heavy category users to regular users is higher than that 20%, say 30 or 35% of your customer base are heavy users, even with the exact same number of customers as the guy down the street, you're going to have 25 to 30%, 40% higher sales. Same number of customers. So understanding that distinction around who the best customers are. Now, once you understand who your best customers are and you're creating content or you're generating advertising to those customers, and it's the same model that I just described. Describe the problem, agitate the problem, talk to the benefit, make it clear what they should do next. That model extends all the way out into advertising, into social media, etc. Now, it's also about creating trust and being trustworthy. This is where I'll talk about microtransactions and creating opportunities for folks to interact with you, low cost, taking 2 minutes to actually watch a video in a Facebook ad. That's a microtransaction, and that says an awful lot about who this person is. They haven't clicked on anything. They haven't changed no money's changed hands, but it's a microtransaction that increases their relationship with you. As they go deeper into the funnel, the richness of the microtransactions will increase. Things like sharing a blog post or sharing a Facebook post or liking a Facebook post, down to getting to the website and providing an email address for a lead magnet to get on your mailing list. These microtransactions, increase the relationship and increase the trust factor and ultimately generate higher quality customers. So traffic, you can use traditional Facebook advertising, Instagram, whatever channel makes the most sense for your audience. Just be sure that when you get them engaged with you, you have a plan to follow up with them. And that's where email marketing becomes very important and very significant. There's no magic formula for how to generate traffic, but it's not going to come just because you've got a website there. You have to actually work at it.
So help our audience understand, we in the marketing field throw out a lot of terms, especially as our discipline evolves. Help people understand the differences between a digital marketing strategy, a content marketing strategy, and how the hub and spoke model fits in between the two.
Yeah, the hub and spoke model is a idea. It's a strategy. So the executional channels that you might use, conferences, let's talk about, that again, you're generating leads and you want to build relationship through microtransactions. that can be done to a degree in the conference. But where does your value proposition manifest itself? Online, it manifests itself in the on the website. And I have this conversation frequently with retail, brick and mortar. And it's a hard thing for them to put their head around. But I try to show them how it used to be that your retail location was your hub. But as people are shifting online and the online channels are becoming more an integral part of day-to-day life, that's less and less true. They may go to your retail location to pick something up, but they've probably been to your website ahead of time to understand where you're located, understand what your hours are. So many situations where they're going to that website. One of our customers is a brew pub. And with pubs and restaurants and that sort of thing, the website is, people go there all the time. Check hours. Are they still open? What have they got on tap these days? Et cetera, et cetera. And the owner of the brew pub says, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have the website for a place for my audience to congregate outside of the physical location. And that's a good example of how you're drawing people into the hub. If you're using conferences as your way to generate traffic back to the website, awesome. But to make that conference event have long time value, you have to have that connection with folks, and the website is where that can be done, and then connected into email systems where that you can then send your messaging back out again, and you get that oscillation effect. And your consistent messaging and content strategy, that's the RIM, whether that content is delivered in a conference or it's delivered in organic blog posts or Facebook ads or however it's being delivered, it needs to oscillate back and forth to the website.
Shelley, back to you.
Okay. So what is the number one thing if somebody is just starting a business online? They've just decided to shift into the retirement, they're encore entrepreneurs, and they're just getting started with their business. What are the top things that they're going to need to get into place?
Well, I think the first thing they want to do is, and I'm starting to sound like a broken record, but I'm very passionate about it, and it's because it's very important. Understand who their customers are. Do a customer avatar. I don't know if you've spoken about customer avatars in other episodes, but I'll quickly describe what it is. It's a 4-block grid. The upper left-hand corner, you describe the demographics of your best customer. The upper right-hand corner, you describe the psychographics of your customer, what they value, their attitudes, their personality, that sort of thing. Lower left-hand quadrant is where you describe their pain. What is it that they're struggling with? What is the problem that they're trying to solve? And then the lower right-hand quadrant is the gain. What can they gain when they work with you, purchase your product, your service, etc.? That customer avatar is a very powerful thing, and really can help an entrepreneur begin to craft their messaging so that they're actually appealing to the audience. The next thing is, and I touched on this before, don't try to boil the ocean. Pick a couple of things, do them well, do them consistently, and build that gradually. Marketing is a long-term game. They like to say in niches there are riches. So being focused is very important. And then build your list. Your email list is so important. I know it's old. Email's been around a long time, although I'm old enough to remember when email didn't exist, but I'm sure nobody else on this call can say that. But
yeah, I don't remember that far back.
Build your list. Whatever your list is, work on it, build it. get people onto that list. So much of marketing is timing, and your customers may be valid potential customers. They just don't have a need at this moment. Your email list is a great way for you to remind them that you exist. Even if they don't open the email, they're still seeing the subject line and preview text. It's still
Mhm.
reminding them that you exist. And when I mean, I get folks reach out to me, I haven't spoken to in 2 years, but I've been sending them out regular email, and they will comment. Yeah, I get your emails regularly, and it
Uh-huh.
reminds me, and I always know where I can turn. So there are riches in your list, and you want to have that list, and it's a very low cost, very effective channel to start with. And then start exploring some of the other channels. Social media can be very effective, particularly when it's focused um, on where the audience is. I have a customer who's an e-commerce situation. Um, he sells a very specific kind of orchid, not houseplants, not orchids in general, a very specific kind of orchid. And I had this hub and spoke conversation with him when he first came across to our platform. And so he said, well, I'm trying to do this and this and this and this and this. And I'm like, okay, stop doing all those things. You just need to pick a couple things and do them well. So he has picked his email list and his organic social media presence. Now he has built his organic social media. He'll get upwards to 1,000 interactions on a post in it through organic social media, which is exceptionally good. His audience is very engaged. He's worked very hard, and he and his wife, that's all they focus on is those two channels. They doubled their sales the first year they were with us, and they have doubled their sales almost every year since then. They're doing
Hashtag
extremely well, and they're
sorry.
still only using two channels. Organic social media. Occasionally we'll do some paid Facebook ads for them. When he's presenting, he's going to a show someplace in like Fort Lauderdale or Ventura County or someplace like that. We'll do Facebook advertising in the general vicinity to generate awareness that he's at this event. His typical return on a few $100s in Facebook ads is several $1,000s in sales.
Well,
And so it's a very effective strategy when it's executed consistently.
I have an Instagram account, personal Instagram account, and every once in a while I'll take a picture of a flower, and every once in a while that flower is an orchid, and I'll hashtag orchid. That goes to my Facebook page. That photograph gets more response than the dozens of other photographs. It's a very tight and very highly interested community of people. So I can see once he spreads out his social media to his social media and focuses on. I like the idea that you feel like we do, that your email list is one of your most important assets. People may not recall. I do, like James does. Shelley, having been just a baby at this time, wouldn't recall that. But email was the first digital variation of marketing after, when people started realizing that there was digital marketing opportunities and they weren't going to print, for example, or television or broadcast. And so email was the first, and it rose, and then it took some hits. Just because of people were playing games with it that they shouldn't have been playing. I remember people buying lists from, cities and counties, that kind of thing. But then after it went through that period, starting around, I'm going to say 2011, 2012, it started the platforms that offer it, some of them as a free service for their smaller lists, started using it in a way that was in line with what people's expectations were, in line with the spam law. And it became an important part of a strong digital marketing strategy. We have an email list that we, like you, James, send out a newsletter every week. And we're very proud of that email list, and it's very useful for us. It allows us to consistently spread our message and support whatever our branding is at that moment in time, because we've had to make a transition here in the past couple of years, and it's worked for us to help make that transition.
Absolutely. I mean, I have an acquaintance that he and his wife live in a tiny cottage at the end of a lane in the middle of Vancouver Island.
Oh, wow.
He's a developer and an expert in digital marketing. But he has a list. He has a list of over 30,000 people,
Wow.
and he's generating from his little cottage at the end of a lane in the middle of Vancouver Island, um, 7 figures in annual income through the courses he sells and the products he sells. And he's written a few books, and he does podcasts. And he said the list is gold, because I know that I can use it to test products. I can use it to promote products when people get passionate about the things that I'm doing, and then they tell their friends about it. But that it's such a cost-effective channel for them. So it hasn't gone away, and if anything, it's become even more important because there's so much noise in social media that that one-to-one connection that can be generated with email. And if you put value into the email, if your emails are something that people are looking forward to because you're always sharing valuable information that's useful to them, back to the customer again, understanding the customer avatar, they will open the email. I regularly get 35, 40% open rates on customer emails. Because we take have you heard of the 70-20-10 rule?
I haven't.
It's was first told to me by somebody I respect highly in the social media space. 70% of your content should be focused on value creation. 20% of your content should be curated content from other resources that's focused on value creation. And then 10% of your content is sales. And I counsel folks to take the same ratio, put the same ratio into their emails. When you're sending emails out to customers, 70% of it should be about, things that you're doing. That's why my blog, thank you for calling it out, but that's why I put so much energy into it, is it's my vehicle to create that value that I can then repurpose into emails, repurpose into social media, repurpose hub, spokes, messaging. I'm a bit of a one-trick pony, but
No,
it's a
I
trick
think
that
it's
works.
important to focus on. That's right. What works
Yeah.
for you and what works for your clients. I was going to ask if there was any place that James would like to send any audience members or listeners to a place where they can reach out to him. What do you call it? Do you have a name for it?
Lead
Call to
magnet,
action. Yeah, lead
opt-in,
magnet.
call
Call
to
to
action.
action.
They're all the same.
Well, if people have enjoyed what I've had to say and think that I can bring value to their business, VIPchatwithjames.com will redirect to my Calendly link and give you a chance to book a time with us. If you're really interested in the hub and spoke strategy, I actually wrote a book about it. And you can download the ebook at hubandspoke.marketing. That's hubandspoke.marketing. And there you will get a chance. You can download the ebook. I wrote the ebook in a slightly non-traditional way. I didn't write it as an explanatory book. It's written as a novel. And it's the story of John, small business owner, and how he was struggling with getting his small business to the next level, and how he was introduced to the hub and spoke strategy and how he embraced the strategy. And then, so it's written as a kind of a short story novel type thing. So it's a little easier to read than a dry tome on digital strategy and blah, blah, blah. Because, we have to have some fun too.
So I'm going to put that in the chat room, and then we'll go to the website real quick. Hang on.
Hub and spoke marketing.
.marketing. Go ahead, Charlotte, while I'm doing this.
All right. I would just ask if there's anything else that you would like to offer the audience as a takeaway, or anything that we didn't touch on today that you wanted to make sure to bring up before the end of the conversation.
Well, I just to highlight a couple of the points that we've made throughout. They bear and warrant repeating. Understand your customers. It begins and ends there. Understand what their struggles are, what the problems are they're trying to solve, and present solutions to those problems. And if you do that, they will engage with you. You will break through the noise. It will be refreshing. Don't try to boil the ocean. Pick a few things. There's so many shiny new things. Oh my God, squirrel ran through. Pick a few things, again, that your audience understands. Toby, I loved what you said about the orchids and the flowers and et cetera, which is why my customer, picked the channels he picked, because he knew his audience. He knew where they were. So pick a few channels, do them very well. Your list is very important. And stop thinking of your website as a digital brochure, and start thinking of it as the hub of your online presence, the hub of your digital marketing strategy, the place where your customers can receive value beyond the transactional and functional benefits of your product or service, and where you can ultimately receive value as well through loyal customers who buy from you over and over again. So I just want to highlight those few points. They're really key to success in this world and success in business.
I have to agree. I think Toby and I have started many different businesses, or just little ventures. Yeah, that's a good word for it, that have failed. And it wasn't until we said, okay, who's already coming to us? What are they asking us for? And how can we focus on those people and just expand in that realm? And that's when we, got into our audience, our avatar, who is responding to us the best, and what the problem was that we could uniquely solve. And once we had that figured out, that's when finally things started to click for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what was funny is that we had built up this market with our digital media that was very comfortable for us, and then literally, for lack of a better way to describe it, the bottom fell out of that market. And so we were stuck with, what do we do next? And so we had the opportunity. It was a good experience for us, because we had the opportunity to try a lot of different things that would kind of work, but never to the extent that we had previously, and certainly not generating any kind of income or revenue. And then Shelley was the one that really came to it. She had gone to a webinar of some sort and said, who are we selling to? Who do we want to sell to? And who's coming to us to buy from us? And that was a decision, I think, based on what she had learned, that gave us the ability to start focusing on what A, we wanted to do, B, what would draw customers in, and C, what kind of made us happy. I mean, I don't mean that we were unhappy, but it satisfied our need for not only communicating with people, but serving them as well. And that's what was kind of neat about it. I think that's really good advice that you're giving here, guys. So before I go on, I do want to show you guys a couple of websites. One is the website that is in the chat box, and also on the screen, Hub and Spoke Marketing. That's James' site. By the way, you should know. Pardon me.
Hub and Spoke Marketing is his book.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, that's hubandspoke.marketing gets you to this site.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It's one of the pages on his site, which is what he advised us to do. Right?
There you go.
Same place. But here's a good point. James is going to use that opportunity, that call to action, to get that ebook. You've got to give him your name and your email address, and then you're going to get a message with the ebook, and one that says, by the way, I've added you to my email, or the equivalent of my email list. So James not only advises you to do this, but he takes his own advice and implements it himself in this particular call to action. So very nicely done. For those of you that are listening to the podcast rather than seeing the show and looking at the chat, I will include all of these links in the description box for the podcast as well, so you guys can have access to them. And again, what's great about this to me is the design is consistent and in line with what the image that James is trying to present to his audience. So very nicely done, James.
There's another subtlety there, if I may, that
Go ahead.
people often miss. Notice there's no navigation.
Right.
I've used a landing page template that that allows us to suppress the navigation, and this means that the decision is bifurcated. They're either going to take action or they're going to leave.
Right.
And that simplifies and falls into the comment I was making before about don't make them think. Make it really easy. They just have to decide one thing. They don't have to figure out, well, maybe I'm going to do this. No, maybe I'm going to do, no. Make it bifurcated. They can sign up or not, but that's it.
And considering what you who are viewing this or listening to this have learned so far from James, it would be worth your while to go there and download this ebook that James makes available to you. All right, Shelley.
Well, that's all the questions that we have for today. But we do want to thank you for being here with us today to help our audience understand the best use of their website and digital marketing and employing the hub and spoke digital marketing strategy in their business. And we do hope that they will look at your website for inspiration and possibly even connecting with you to help them with their own website.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Shelley and Toby. I really do appreciate it, and I've enjoyed the conversation immensely.
As have we. We're grateful for you having joined us today. So I'd like to take this opportunity for those of you who would like to appear on our program and be as open and informative as James has been today. Go to the website that you see on the link there on the page and in the chat box, journey.messagesandmethods.com. And there you will find instructions on how to become one of our guests in 3 short videos that Shelley has prepared for you, as well as just some quick answers to questions and releases and things like that. But Shelley has made it very easier for you to join us as a guest. And we look forward to having you. We will schedule, after all this happens, one of the things that you'll do is you'll schedule the date that you'd like to be on. I should tell you, we are filled all the way through the end of the year. And we've opened up our calendar for the beginning of next year. So it would be on a Wednesday starting in January. I think it was Wednesday, January 5th, 6th, something like that. So yeah, take advantage of that and join us on our program.
Or if you are on Podmatch, like James and we are, then we can meet up there as well.
Right.
And we appreciate Podmatch as a platform where we can meet guests and we can offer our services to be a guest as well.
So James, let me take this opportunity to thank you first for getting in touch with us on Podmatch and offering to join us on our program. After reading your bio, we felt like it would be a very informative program, and you're very free with your knowledge, and we appreciate that. I'm sure that our audience does as well. And I just want to say thank you for joining us today. Shelley?
That's all we have.
All right. So we will see you.
Thank you both.
Next week.
We'll be back next week.
Right. The only week we're taking off is the week between Christmas and New Year's. But we will see you next week. And I know we have one of the guests from the She podcast interviews.
I think it's Narissa.
Oh, is it? Oh, she was an interesting. She's from she's Canadian, and she's First Nations Canadian with this amazing story. As I said, I had the benefit of getting to listen to them while Shelley had the conversations with each of these women that were attending the She Podcast conference in Scottsdale in October. So please join us for that. There's much to be learned from her as well. Again, James, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And we look forward to continuing the conversation with you in some way or the other.
I would love to.
Have a good day.
Thank you for joining Messages and Methods Livecast Life 2.0 hosted by Shelley Carney and Toby Eunice. Please subscribe and leave a comment or question, and we'll consider your ideas for future shows. Share this podcast with your family and friends so they can learn about current digital marketing practices, too. Check the show notes for links and resources, and please come back again next week.